Deep within the mountainous folds of the Aya Valley, on the remote Japanese island of Shikoku, lies a place where the boundary between the living and the remembered has been irrevocably blurred. They call this region the Tibet of Japan, a moniker that speaks to its profound isolation, its spiritual and physical removal from the bustling modernity of the rest of the country. It is a place of jagged peaks that claw at the sky, vertiginous ravines carved by emerald rivers, and a silence so heavy it can be felt as a physical pressure against your ears, a vacuum where the sounds of civilization have been utterly swallowed. This is not merely a geographical isolation. It is a temporal one, a pocket of the past preserved, yet subtly corrupted by an unnatural stillness. To reach this forgotten corner of the world, you must navigate Route 439, a road so treacherous, so unforgiving, it serves as a natural barrier, guarding the valley from casual intrusion. Known locally as the National Highway of Death or the Roller Coaster Road, its narrow, winding path, often clinging precariously to sheer cliffs, is a testament to the raw, untamed nature of this region. The asphalt, where it exists, is cracked and broken, constantly battling the encroaching vegetation. As you drive deeper into the mist-shrouded mountains, the modern world begins to fray at the edges. Cell service dies, leaving you disconnected, adrift. The radio turns to static, a hiss of white noise replacing human voices, a chilling reminder of your growing separation from the familiar. You are entering a domain where nature is not merely reclaiming the works of civilization, but actively asserting its ancient, indifferent dominion. Every turn brings a new vista of breathtaking, yet oppressive, beauty, a beauty that feels both ancient and menacing. Eventually, through the swirling fog and the oppressive quiet, you arrive at a settlement, Nagoro. From a distance, shrouded in the perpetual mist, it appears deceptively ordinary. A cluster of traditional Japanese farmhouses, their dark wooden walls and tiled roofs blending into the gray-green landscape. You might see figures working diligently in the terraced fields. You might spot people waiting patiently at the bus stop. You might even instinctively raise a hand to wave at a farmer resting by the roadside, a gesture of camaraderie in this desolate place, a human instinct for connection in the vast emptiness. But they do not wave back. As you draw closer, the illusion shatters violently. The farmer in the field is not a man, but a motionless effigy, his straw hat pulled low, his gaze fixed on the soil. The people at the bus stop are not waiting for a bus that will never come, for they are made of straw and cloth, their painted faces frozen in eternal anticipation. They are dolls, life-sized, unblinking, silent watchers. Welcome to Nagoro, the village of dolls, a place defined by a startling, almost impossible arithmetic. Its living population has dwindled to fewer than 30 souls, but its population of life-sized dolls exceeds 350. They are everywhere, in the fields, on porches, by the river, in the abandoned school. A silent, ever-present majority, their numbers growing, while the living diminish. It is a reversal of the natural order, a chilling testament to a community clinging to the echoes of its past. This is not a film set, nor is it a tourist trap designed for cheap thrills. It is a quiet crisis made visible, a poignant and terrifying monument to loss. In Nagoro, the demographic collapse of a nation, the Keisoka, or severe rural depopulation, is not a statistic on a chart. It is a physical presence, sitting on a porch, staring eternally at a sunset that marks the end of an era. It is a village caught in a perpetual twilight, where the echoes of a vibrant past are given form, but never voice. The dolls are not merely representations. They are placeholders, silent witnesses to a fading world, their very existence a question mark hanging over the future of rural Japan. To understand the haunting reality of Nagoro, we must look to its unlikely creator, its solitary architect of memories, Ayano Tsukimi. In 2002, Ayano returned to this isolated valley, to her childhood home, driven by the filial piety to care for her aging father. She had spent decades in the bustling metropolis of Osaka, a world of neon and noise, of endless crowds and ceaseless motion. The transition back to the crushing silence of her ancestral home was not merely jarring. It was a profound shock to the soul. the vibrant energy of the city replaced by an almost suffocating stillness, the constant hum of human activity replaced by the rustling of leaves and the distant murmur of the river. The village she remembered, a place of vibrant festivals, the joyous laughter of children echoing through the valleys, and the communal labor that bound neighbors together, was gone. The elementary school, once a hub of youthful energy, was quiet, its windows dark and vacant. The local shops, once filled with daily chatter, were shuttered, their paint peeling, their signs faded. The emptiness was not just a lack of noise. It was a palpable lack of presence, a void that seemed to swallow all light and warmth. The youth, lured by the promise of employment, convenience, and modernity, had fled to the cities, drawn by the irresistible gravitational pull of the economic boom. What remained were the elderly, the ancestral homes slowly decaying, and a silence that grew heavier, more suffocating, with each passing winter. The very air seemed to hold the ghosts of what once was, a silent lament for a lost era. Her artistic intervention, the genesis of this surreal village, began with a single, pragmatic act of agriculture. In 2003, while attempting to grow radishes in the rocky, unforgiving soil that had sustained her ancestors, she found her crops decimated by aggressive birds. To protect her meager harvest, she fashioned a scarecrow, a kakashi, using straw and old clothes, a traditional method employed by farmers for centuries. But as she meticulously shaped the face, stuffing the body with cotton and newspaper, she realized she was not making a generic figure. She was making a likeness of her father, a physical echo of the man she had returned to care for. It was an act of creation born of necessity, yet imbued with a deeply personal, almost spiritual significance. When she placed it in the field, she was struck by the uncanny presence it possessed. Neighbors passing by, accustomed to the sight of her father, would wave at it, mistaking the straw figure for the man himself. It was not merely a tool to scare crows. It occupied space. It held a gaze. It watched. This accidental creation, this single act of remembrance, ignited a profound compulsion within Ayano Tsukimi, a compulsion that would span decades and transform her dying village. It was as if the doll had awakened something within her, a desperate need to fill the void, to bring back the faces of those who had departed. As her neighbors passed away, one by one, or were moved to nursing homes in distant cities, Ayano felt the loss of their physical presence keenly, a deepening wound in the heart of her community. To combat the suffocating loneliness, the creeping void, she began to replace them. She developed a consistent, almost ritualistic method, wrapping wooden bases in newspapers to create volume, using cotton for softness to mimic human muscle, and dressing the figures in the actual clothes of the people they represented. The faces were painted with gentle, often smiling expressions, sewn with a care that belied their humble materials. These were not generic mannequins. They were specific acts of remembrance, each doll a meticulously crafted ghost of a person who once was. Each stitch, each brushstroke, a silent prayer against oblivion. The old woman who used to drink tea on the porch was reconstructed and placed back on her bench, eternally sipping from an empty cup. The man who smoked by the river was returned to his post, his fishing rod forever cast into the silent water. Ayano was not building a haunted house. She was repopulating her world, refusing to let the village succumb to total emptiness. She speaks to them, wishing them good morning, commenting on the weather, maintaining the social contract of the village. Even when the other party is made of straw and cloth, their painted eyes staring back with an unnerving, unblinking stillness. It is a conversation with ghosts, a desperate attempt to keep the past alive, even if only in effigy. Walking through Nagoro today feels less like tourism and more like intruding upon a suspended moment in time, a tableau vivant frozen in a perpetual state of waiting. The residents appear in your periphery, engaged in eternal labor and leisure, their silent forms scattered throughout the landscape. The encounters are jarring in their realism, often catching visitors off guard, blurring the lines between the living and the inanimate. Your mind struggles to reconcile the human form with the absolute stillness, creating a disorienting sense of the uncanny, a feeling that something is profoundly wrong. yet undeniably present. Near the river, a fisherman sits patiently with his rod, his gaze fixed on the water, waiting for a catch that will never come. His straw hat is pulled low, obscuring his painted eyes, yet his posture conveys an eternal patience, a quiet resignation. A figure pushing a wheelbarrow, its back permanently bent, looks as though they have just paused to wipe sweat from their brow, a moment of rest before resuming an endless task. A couple on a weathered wooden bench leans in, caught in a whisper that you can never hear, their faces locked in expressions of gentle, unmoving intimacy. These are not static statues. They are posed in dynamic relation to the environment, creating a disquieting sense of life arrested, a perpetual pantomime of human existence. The tableau is so convincing from a distance that visitors often wave to the dolls, a polite acknowledgement of perceived presence, only to feel a sudden, icy chill when the wave is not returned, when the painted eyes remain fixed, devoid of recognition. The eyes of the dolls, painted with meticulous care, seem to follow you as you walk down the narrow alleys. Their unblinking gaze a constant, unnerving presence. They are the silent majority, outnumbering the living 10 to 1. Their collective stillness a profound statement on the village's fate. Every corner turned, every path taken, reveals another silent witness, another frozen moment of a life that once was. It is a village of perpetual surveillance, where every movement is observed by 100 unblinking eyes. But the most poignant, and perhaps the most devastating concentration of these figures, resides within the shuttered walls of the Nagoro Elementary School. It stands as a stark symbol of the village's decline, a place where the future was once nurtured, now a shrine to what has been lost. The very air around it feels heavy with unspoken memories, with the echoes of laughter and learning that have long since departed. The school closed its doors in 2012 when the last 2 students graduated, a definitive, heartbreaking marker of a dying town. In most abandoned villages, a school falls into ruin, its structure slowly reclaimed by moss and rot, its memories fading with each passing season. But in Nagoro, Ayano Tsukimi has transformed it into a living, breathing time capsule, a museum of a future that never arrived. The silence within its walls is not empty. It is filled with the unspoken stories of hundreds of painted faces, each one a silent scream against the inevitability of forgetting. Walking down the darkened hallways of the Nagoro Elementary School is an experience that transcends mere observation. It is an immersion into a profound, unsettling stillness. You find the classrooms fully populated, not by flesh and blood, but by dozens of child-sized figures sitting at their desks. Their textbooks are open to specific pages, their pencils poised in hands made of cloth, forever ready to write, to learn, to grow. At the front, a teacher doll stands at the blackboard, chalk in hand, her painted gaze fixed on her silent pupils, forever imparting lessons to an empty future. The scene is so meticulously arranged, so perfectly preserved, that it feels less like a museum and more like a moment frozen in time, waiting for a bell that will never ring. The blackboard often bears the date of the school's closing, or a final, poignant message from the last students. It is a scene of profound melancholy, a simulation of a future that the Aya Valley will never see again. The children are dressed in period-appropriate clothing, some with backpacks slung over their shoulders, some with hats, their youthful innocence captured in fabric and paint. To stand in that room is to stand in the very center of a community's grief over its lost future. It is a memorial to the sound of children's laughter, replaced by the deafening silence of stuffed fabric and painted smiles. 2 of the children in the classroom are self-portraits, created by the last 2 students to study there, dressed in their own clothes before they left the valley forever.